Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're giving our first impressions of Skulk Hollow.
Yes.
Yes,
This
we
is
are.
a two-player game.
Two-player only.
Head-to-head, one person will be playing a big monster, kind of protecting their area that they've... Very thematic. That one has wings. Of course it would fly.
Exactly.
And there is a shriek ability printed on it. Fantastic job.
That was perfect.
But yeah, one's playing a big creature there, and the other one are playing little woodland creatures, kind of community of, I guess, what animals are they? More like foxes
like
and
fox,
things like that? Foxens, yeah. I think it's the Foxen clan. So, a bunch of little guys. There's one big guy, and you can even crawl on the big guy and take out all of his abilities, his health. And the big guy just wants to either kill your leader or fulfill their special objective, depending on which of the four bad guys you are playing as. And this one, I guess, had you ever heard of this before we got it?
I'd heard of it, and I don't know if it was like on Miniature Market or something, or I'd seen it a couple times and thought about possibly getting it, but I didn't know much about it at all. I would say I didn't actually know anything about it because I did not realize it was a two-player only game.
Oh, yeah.
But I think when I was looking at ratings, I thought it was rated decently well. So I think that was kind of something I was like, it could be good. But yeah, I would say I didn't know too much about it, so I was indifferent towards it. I would say.
Yeah, I was.
I will say part of it made me feel like it was like part of the Oniverse. In my head, I was like imagining that. I don't know why, but that's why I'd say I was middle of the road to maybe not so interested.
Yeah,
possibly because in my head that's kind of how I did it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's no reason I thought that way, but that was.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the Oniverse is kind of a series of games that are primarily played solo, and I have most of them. I think there might be a new one or two that I do not have, but really good solo games, series of solo games, and definitely not your forte, not what you look for. So I could see there's something slightly in the same ballpark with this one, so I can see why you wouldn't be overly interested there. But yeah, I was pretty interested. I did know at least a single thing about the game, and I did know it was
called Skulk Hollow.
That's what I knew. And there's a big monster on the cover. I forget if it's in anyone's top 100 at the Dice Tower, but that's where we usually learn of some of our games, other than like brand new games that obviously there's hype about. Other games we usually hear of from them, and at least me. And I forget who liked this one. It might have been Tom, could have been Z, could have been both. But I think I watched a review, and they just really, really loved the game. I could be totally wrong. Maybe they hated it. But I think they really liked the game, and they described how you're climbing onto the monster and taking out its individual body parts and disabling some of its abilities, and that just really seemed cool to me, unlike anything that I'd played before, and also very thematic and easy to get into kind of the characters and the story of these little critters taking down this giant behemoth. And actually crawling onto him, going around on the map, and then jumping onto him. I just thought that was such a cool idea, so I was pretty interested in it. Much more than you, obviously.
Yeah, and once we were getting into it and playing it, or once you described it, so I actually knew what was going on, I was like, okay, this could be good, because I would say Unmatched was something I was initially not like. I was indifferent towards, and now.
Oh, well, yeah, we got a whole cube here, just fully full of Unmatched. We got Unmatched all around the house. We got the boards over there.
Yes. So, yeah, and we've got a whole Unmatched series if you want to go check that out. We got a whole tournament. So we got like 30-some videos of Unmatched if you want to go figure out what Unmatched is.
Yeah. And there's more on the way.
We mainly, there's other ways to play it too, but we mainly play it one-on-one, and I'm like, well, maybe this will provide a good experience as well. And yeah, so we played it kind of 3 times.
Yep.
Once I was the fox, and then you were the creature.
Yep.
The first game, and then the other ones I was a different monster.
Yep, you were a
and
different
then you
monster,
were-
and I lost the first game, and then I switched my hero of my Foxen clan, and then I did win that game.
Mhm.
But yeah, the monsters felt decently different.
They did.
I think quite a bit different, because especially the second one.
Mhm.
I think the first one was more basic kind of
Yeah.
abilities that we played with the recommended first game,
Mhm.
so nothing too crazy. But your second one, just your abilities of being able to stab with your different legs. I forget. You're kind of like a centipede type creature.
Yeah.
So you had all these legs that you would stab in diagonal spaces, and that was just very, very tough to fight against. And you were also trying to go and get these eggs, which
They were runes.
Runes that
Yep.
you were trying to go to the locations and
Pick them up and burrow
pick 'em up
back.
and burrow back, and that just felt a lot different from the first one, which was
Yep.
basically kill 9
Mhm.
people from your opponent was the bad guy's objective. So
It felt like
hopefully-
mine was easier than killing 9
yeah, I
in
think
a way.
yeah, because you do just have to get 4 of those runes, but at the same time, that is only 1 card in your deck.
Yeah, that's
Although
true.
you did possibly get extra actions with the power cubes that
That's
you could
true.
gain throughout the game, which I believe we played correctly, because it was a really close second game that I think it probably worked out and
Hmm.
was right. But I really love the kind of deck management. You get just a handful of cards, like maybe 10, 12 cards probably in your deck. Or is it more? Maybe like 15, 16.
Yeah, it might be closer to 15.
Yeah, so not
10 to 15. Yeah, it might. Yeah, 10 to 15 probably.
Yeah, and then they are split into different abilities on each one, and that can be just various types of movement. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around some of the movement icons, because you have this square board kind of turned into be like a diamond for each player, so the icons for moving, it's just very weird on the cards,
Yeah.
but you get used to it eventually, but it's just not very intuitive.
Yeah.
But it works, and then you have different abilities of either attacking, melee, or ranged, or leaping onto the monster, or different things like that. I liked the way you kind of go through the deck, and you can search for more cards, or kind of just get power cubes for some of the monsters and the Fox and Clan. But it did feel that sometimes you kind of just wanted to get certain actions, and sometimes you just wouldn't get them, and in that case, you're kind of can have a rough round or two as you're kind of digging through your deck. But at least then you will have those other cards. If you do kind of just keep them in your hand, you will have those when you do need those abilities. But I did feel it does have a tendency to, at least at a certain point in the game, you're gonna be searching for something.
Right. Yeah, I felt that as well, and I think you feel that on both sides.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of if you have that happen at a really bad time, and then there's some times where you just get the perfect cards in a certain situation, and that can be really helpful for you. So I think this one might have a little bit more luck to it, depending on, especially when you maybe get a reshuffle, and it's like, well, I've got a chance at a card, maybe a card that you maybe just kind of played, and you're like, well, if I can get that card right back here, or any card, I guess, really, that was in your discard pile, if you're like, I can just get that one, if I can draw that, that'll be what I need. So then there could be some luck, because that could be at the bottom of the deck, and then you're just kind of in trouble, potentially. Or most of them have multiple, but there are, I think, some that just have a single card of a type, so that can be unfortunate if you're not getting it. But overall, I like what's happening on from the 2 that we played. I'm interested in trying the other monsters to see how different they feel. I agree with you 100% that the 2 that we did play feel very different. And I think on the other side of things, you also play differently, because I didn't, when I was the Foxen, based on yours wanting to kill 9, I didn't want to put as many out there, especially the ones that had 1 health.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't care quite as much
Yeah,
if you
'cause-
lost them.
Yeah, and then
So you could put them out there. And,
yeah, and then my ability was to, well, one of them was to heal some
Mhm.
of your other heroes. So then I was like, okay, get more heroes out there.
Mhm.
And then another one was I could spend cubes with my hero or my leader to give other hero tokens in my space actions, and take actions with them. So, and if that was against one of the other guy, Grak or whatever the initial one that just wanted to kill 9, I think I would have had a harder time. My abilities wouldn't be as good against him because I'd just keep putting out different characters and then they just keep getting killed. So it is interesting that I
but
do like.
the healing one could have been really good against
Yeah,
him,
the
though,
healing
too,
would
and
have
that
been
could have
good.
been really, really tough to be graphed.
Oh, that's true.
Because, yeah, if you just then mainly put out your 2 health
the
ones
2 health.
and just kept healing them, that could become very, very difficult for
Yeah.
him to. I don't remember. You played him more, or you played
Yeah.
him, so I don't remember how many attacks he had, but
Yeah, I forget.
that could
what
be
it
tough.
was.
That could
Yeah,
be real
yeah,
tough.
that could be tough. That is true. And I like that you can also ignore that if it's not going your way and just try to kill the leader. But
That's true.
the leader, if he is in a space with any other friendly fighters, then
to go
they
for them
take
first.
damage before they would. And I played a little risky in
Yes.
when I was the Fox and Heroes, and there were some times where I was nearly died, and then again I was digging for cards to get a movement back into my home base with all those other tokens, or just to get some shield there. And I wasn't able to get it, so I had to run away to be by myself with just by myself with 1 health left. And if you had had a different movement, you would have been able to take me out.
Right.
But luckily, I survived. Probably would not recommend doing that.
Yes.
But yeah, I
Well,
don't
sometimes
know.
you have to.
Yeah, yeah. The movement, I don't know if it's. I didn't feel like there was a lot of maneuvering around because you do want to group up
Yeah.
your leader with other friendly fighters, and everything is so close that, like, for all the different types of movement cards, they're never really that exciting when you see them in your hand. It's like, I guess I could use this, but I don't know, a power cube could move me too, and I'm
Right.
like, it's just.
If I'm not going to hop onto him and do damage or
Yeah.
something, I don't know if it's worth it to move.
Yeah, it just felt like it was never like, oh, this is an amazing move card, or I really needed that. It's just kind of like, I guess I have to move. So I don't know if it was overall that interesting, like in that way, like positioning all these different things. But yeah, I do really enjoy kind of one of the big selling points of crawling onto the monster and moving around them and disabling their different abilities, which even that part kind of felt a lot different between the 2 different baddies that we used, because I guess I forget what Greg was like, but the second one with the centipede, he had just a bunch of single health areas,
over, yeah.
abilities. So it's like all of his stabs, he had 4 of them, but each of them only takes 1 heart to take out, which I guess could have just been 1 spot with 4, but you do have to spread out to get them unless you
have
are
to hop
using.
around and stuff.
Yeah, unless you are using a
Archer.
to attack them. So you have to approach it differently based on kind of what area you're attacking or kind of what fighter.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would say after those plays, I'm definitely still interested in playing the other heroes to kind of see what they are. Not the heroes, the monsters. Guess they could be heroes, not sure, but to try those out and see what they feel like. But I would say kind of after those plays, I'm thinking I'd maybe come in at about maybe a 6.757 for me. Yeah, there's just a few things that can kind of take away from the excitement sometimes, but I do feel like the last game was pretty close. Can't remember if our first game felt close. It felt like I kept taking you down, and then you'd heal and kept taking you down.
Yeah,
I don't know if it ever felt like. Did you feel like you had a chance, or did you feel like I'm just trying to stay alive?
I think I had
for quite a while.
a good turn there to where I did feel good. Like I think I must have eliminated a couple of your guys, and I was like, okay, that feels good. But yeah, at a certain point, it's like I just don't think it's gonna be enough.
Yeah.
But
and I guess there is the option to throw like these bone things
yeah.
in that can give someone additional extra turns that they can use. We didn't
Yeah.
use those at all,
Yeah.
so I guess that could possibly make
Which would
things
have-
more interesting.
Because there were a couple times in those games where I was like, okay, since I kind of joked like, oh, I'll take one since you won the first game, and that's how we can determine who gets bones.
Yeah.
Like if you're on a losing streak, which actually could actually work.
Right.
But then I joked and then I just put it back, and then later on, there were so many times where I was like, if I had one more action, I could do everything that I want on this turn. I'm like, I should have taken that bone. But yeah, I think that is actually a really
That could be
good
really
bonus
good,
at the right time, just saving it and getting a huge turn.
That could be really good.
Because yeah, this is a game where I think you do build up to big turns. I
Yeah.
don't think every turn is going to be, oh, I'm hitting you, hitting you, hitting you. It's more, you got to build it up and get those handful of cards, those 2 or 3 cards that are really going to do some damage. I would give this, I think I'll give it an 8 right now for first impression. I enjoyed it. I do look forward to trying the other baddies and seeing how they are. I do wonder, I don't know, because there is back and forth.
Mhm.
But yeah, there was a lot of, I hit you, you heal, I hit you, you heal, hit you, you heal. And I'm like, I don't know, is that going to be like interesting in the long run if that's
Right.
kind of it? And does it feel, like you said, like you actually have a chance? In that one, we were both close enough
Right.
to where it did feel like, oh, and he healed and I had him down to 1 health.
Yeah.
I think that was the perfect scenario, but some of the other ones, it could just feel more like delaying the inevitable if you just
Right.
got off to a really bad start with the draw, or someone just was really fortunate. I'm sure you can come back. Obviously, you can come back in the game, but
Mhm.
I feel like it is one where you could maybe just be kind of dead.
Yeah, and you're just kind of prolonging the game at that point. But yeah, this is definitely one that I have to try. Yeah, some more, see kind of how they feel. But otherwise, if you want to take a closer look at maybe some of the components and art and stuff, we've got an unboxing video alongside this one, so you can check that out. But otherwise,
Looking up the sequel.
Mall Peak.
Peak. That's
Mall
what
Peak.
it is. Are you interested in that one? It's got a spider on the cover, I believe.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
That's right. I didn't know if you even knew that it existed.
I was going to ask you about that earlier, and then I forgot. I was going to say something about Mall Peak.
Mall Peak. So you knew the name before.
I did know the
You knew the
name.
name. I had to figure out the name. I was
I-
sure
well,
you wouldn't know.
For some reason, at first, I thought it was Maui Peak. Because the L, it almost looked like an I when I first saw it.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like and subscribe if you like these videos and want to see more content. But otherwise, we hope to see you on our other videos. And as always, don't forget to
Keep on nibbling.
on our content.